This is the Leadership and Insurance Podcast, brought to you by FinPro Search Partners.
Insurance companies are businesses and they need to look for the long term and be sustainable.
We went from 0 to 1 and now it's going from 1 to 100.
Insurance as a concept, as a kind of service, is brilliant. The execution is what we're looking at now.
I think the companies that are going to succeed are the ones that are going to understand and master the art of intent.
When we talk about innovation, we lean too heavily to think about technology and we don't think about creating a culture of innovation.
I think innovation is essentially continuous improvement of existing processes and platforms and product.
Right? It's got to be easy. It's got to be seamless.
Hello and welcome to the Leadership and Insurance Podcast. I'm your host, Alex Barnes, and I'm really lucky today to be joined by Ron Gura, co-founder and CEO of Empathy. Ron, hello, how are you?
Hey, Alex, good to be here.
Yeah, I always start by saying I'm excited, but I really am, and you're someone that is kind enough to come on. I know the business is going great guns and doing some really, really exciting stuff. So I think we're going to have a great conversation. So thank you for finding the time. But let's start with the people that might not know you. Tell us who you are and what it is that Empathy actually does.
Sure thing. Well, Empathy is a tech company that is transforming the way people plan for and deal with life's most challenging moments. So we take big, messy human problems like bereavement or legacy planning or disability and many other infrequent big events. And we provide continuity of care and navigation between our tech and service. We do that primarily by partnering with progressive employers and thoughtful insurance players that basically add to provide that continuity of care.
Perfect. And what I was excited about getting you on, I do think there's some misunderstanding around what Empathy does and how it operates. I think I brought some of that to the first time we spoke as well, and it was good to have that sort of explained to me. But you operate in these like really human moments, bereavement, loss, grief. But you have a personal connection to like building this company, and like it'd be great to hear that. And if you're happy to share, and then how do you kind of have that mission alongside the commercial realities of running a business?
Absolutely. Well, nobody wakes up one morning and say, you know what I want to do, Alex? I want to build an end of life company today. It's
Mm-hmm.
usually not how it works. So like many other great people I met in this space, I think I'm coming to this from a very purposeful direction. I had more than my fair share of loss myself. Started with the loss of my brother. That really impacted the way, my family operates and behaves in general. And then I experienced many more losses, natural and less natural in my short lifetime. And at some point, after being in and out from big companies to startups and starting new things, I wanted to get back into the arena and this time do something that is truly mission driven, that I thought, we're going to have good days and bad days anyway, so we might as much as well be able to truly embrace what we're doing, and that will really help us on both good and bad days. And that's what I do even now, 6 years in. If we have a challenging moment here at the company, I open my Slack channel with the automatic output of all the app reviews. I spend 2-3 minutes there and I'm ready to go, supercharged and excited to continue serving families during big transitions.
This is probably a slightly a side topic, but as someone that works in recruitment and that's my role, providing talent for startups and scale ups in the space. How does that play out into Does it play out into the hiring process? Does it mean that you have part of the process that really makes sure people are on mission? Does everyone have to be on mission? I'm sort of intrigued about building that culture around something that's so mission driven.
Well, I'll tell you, we're 200 people today between our New York office, US teams, remote, and London and Tel Aviv. And I feel like the vast majority of applications we're getting have something to do with a personal story of something that by design is inevitable. It's not like, you need to be a very specific human on this planet in order to experience loss or legacy or disability, etc. So a lot of what we're doing is just primarily simple and human, and people relate to that on a very personal level. So I think being direct at the very beginning, like 2, 3, 5 employees, this was a little bit weird. We were not as sharp as we are today about who we serve, what we're doing, how does the technology looks like. We were just saying, hey, we're going to save people time and money and stress, and we're going to do that with software, which is really the form factor we know best in terms of how can we come to a problem domain and solve it. And, I remember my first phone calls to like the usual suspects. And I'm like, hey, drop what you're doing. We're getting the band together again. Let's go. And like, okay, what is it? Is it a cyber company? Is it a SaaS company where we're doing fintech again? What are we doing, Ron? I'm like, take a seat, guys. Like, so that might be at that time, not even a challenge, but like something that is not straightforward or obvious. At 20, 30 people, and let alone at 200, it's a superpower. It is the glue that connects the team. At the risk of being immodest, I think it helps us to punch above our weight when it comes to attracting top talent globally. And it's a movement at that point.
Yeah, because this is something that comes up in my work. People say, "Oh, we're mission driven," but their mission is, I don't know, creating a net new line of insurance that saves businesses money, essentially, or protects businesses. And I was like, well, quite difficult. Whereas and even if something maybe is environmentally focused, like that has a lot more mission appeal, but it's not universal. People don't think about that in the same way. And I think what's interesting is this, as you say, this is a universal thing that everyone experiences at some point in their life. So that mission is it's just more tangible. You can.
My 2 cents on, for whatever it's worth, on recruitment and putting a mission on the wall doesn't really work. It needs to be in the hallway. It needs to be what people actually do and practice.
Yeah.
It's not whatever you're going to print and stick on a wall. So eventually, as long as the mission is authentic, I don't have a problem with the mission statement of an investment bank. And saying we're here to make money. What you see is what you get. I am, let's say, more opinionated about gaming companies who say, we're here to entertain the world, or some sort of version of that, where actually they're not necessarily leveraging, they're not really always fair in the audience they attract. So as long as the mission is authentic and you do what you're saying you're doing, you don't need to go through hula hoops in order to explain it. A lot of really interesting infrastructure and fintech companies need to say, we do this, and then we help the thing, and the thing helps the small, medium business or the enterprise, and then we help the person at the end. My employees just see the crisis persona in front of them, and they provide them with this tool that is going to take the mundane out of the way and help them focus on, well, let's say, moving forward, but not moving on.
Yeah, the mission is intrinsic. I think that thing about not printing it on the wall, that's that's a thing that just sort of makes me cringe inside. The amount of companies that go and they've got this thing on the wall, and if it's true, then it's true, and then but you almost don't need to print it up. But some it's like aspirational, and you think that's not who you are, and sometimes it's disingenuous. For example, the point we made is like it's perfectly acceptable to say you've started a business to make money. That's perfectly okay.
We're here to make money as well.
Yeah, of course.
And I think that's something you asked me as well about. Like, at the end of the day, I think in order to touch as many families as possible and get up to 1 billion people, where we hopefully really empower them through life's most challenging moments, we're going to need resources. We're going to need to become a household brand at what we're doing.
Yeah.
We've raised a little bit of venture money to go big on this, what we think is the single largest consumer sector that is untouched. And it's going to take a village in order to do it. So we're going to need to create returns to great investors while we're doing it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you've done some really good research and really interesting data that you produced, and I was looking at some of it, and so I was looking at your research with Limra, and I found this fascinating because this is something that I think insurers would be horrified by. So Limra found that 91% of beneficiaries are satisfied with the claims process, yet fewer than 1 in 10 go to buy a policy from the same carrier. Why is that happening, do you think? And why hasn't the industry connected those two facts? Because that's a pretty stark data point.
Well, I'm with you. I think it's pretty straightforward, but it wasn't always the case. I think until a few years ago, the common thought about claims in life insurance was a cost center. Pay quickly, pay effectively, pay accurately, and move on. No one thought about this as a business. This was the premise you need to keep from dozens of years ago, where the policyholder purchased this peace of mind. If you simplify the situation, it usually sounds something like this. Let's say you are a large carrier. I'm calling in. Hey, Alex, I lost a loved one. Where's my money? You're gonna go, Ron, on behalf of ABC Insurance, I'm sorry for your loss. Check is in the mail. In so many different words. If you're doing your job right, pretty straightforward. 99.9% of the time, it's life insurance. It's not P&C. You're gonna get paid. But when I was listening to these conversations, I was like, wait a second. Isn't that an adult child calling you, a financial institution, to ask for money you have, and report a problem that is affecting not just his financials, but his emotional state, his family, administration? Isn't that person going to have the largest liquidity event of their life at a 91% chance as well? In a few weeks, guaranteed, and nobody knows about this. Not his bank, not his wife, not his dog, nobody knows. Only you know. And what are you going to do now that he's best positioned to purchase protection for his family and able to do so with liquidity? You're going to hang up the phone and going to do a Super Bowl ad? Where's that glass of wine as I wait for my table? Where is it? Like, this is a $1 trillion restaurant, literally. Where is it? What are we talking about? I'm not here for a snack. This is serious. So I think, very proud to say that today 1 out of 5 conversations like that in North America sounds fundamentally different. Sorry for your loss, but we're not going anywhere. We're going to stick around with you for the days, weeks, and months after the loss. We're going to help you and your family with the full range of grief and estate needs. Complimentary. Look at your phone. Look at your email. You got the access code. And this is how you take a transaction and you shift it to a relationship.
Yeah.
Save time, you save money, you save headaches, you build trust, and then maybe you can transact. And we proved that we can improve that hundreds of percentages in terms of the very low chance you would initially reinvest.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, building that relationship's always been that's always been the missing piece, and I think we've talked about it a lot in on this podcast in the evolution of like technology in the sector. But it doesn't really come down to the tech to a certain degree. Of course, it allows you to kind of give access, but it's there's a mindset there in changing the way that you want to interact with the customer. And it, as a guy that worked in claims, that part of the process, it's misunderstood by the people that buy the policies. They've never been through it before. Most people haven't been through this event. There's so much there that's unknown, and I think sometimes we can be negligent and sitting our side of the fence, going, "We know in the insurance industry," and therefore we assume there's an assumption about what the customer knows. And I think that gap is so large. So it's interesting to see, because realistically, how
I want to
simple
double
that
down
offer
on
is.
something you just said. You said on what the customer knows.
Mm.
They're not even the customer. The
Oh,
customer,
yes,
just,
yeah,
the
good point.
customer just passed away.
Of
So
course,
the gap in understanding is even greater. This person,
sure.
this next of kin calling in, they're not even an acquaintance of ours. They're not even on our terms and conditions. They haven't signed any paper with New York Life, MetLife, Aviva. They're just a stranger. In a way, if this was a purely business, which thankfully it isn't, this industry is very noble, I've seen. But if it was purely about profit, this is in a way the problem. This person is coming in, taking AUM out of your business and leaving you. Now, of course, it's the opposite. He's actually the premise of the one thing we need to do. Life insurance companies' whole life doesn't have factories, doesn't have value chains, doesn't have IP. What that company is providing is a commitment, a promise.
Mhm.
And that promise being fulfilled in the claim is very honorable and profitable. But they really didn't have a way to shift that. What would they do? They can't be an ambulance chaser and call you in and say, "Hey, about your claim, you're next, right? Like you should also think." There's no way to do that, really. So it's only when you provide continuity of care and you say, "Let me first add value to what you're doing so you can see my true colors as a financial institution. Then we can talk."
Mhm. Yeah, that demonstration of values, a really important point. I think this comes on to something that we talked about previously. So I've been trying to roll out this idea of humanity in the loop when we're talking about AI, and you and I had a really good conversation about where AI belongs and where it doesn't. And I think it was around the idea of frequency of tasks should determine how much automation is appropriate. But in the context of a life insurance claim, where do you draw that line, and where do you think that perhaps people have got it wrong when they've been using automation or AI in part of this process?
I think AI is a terrific advancement that will continue to be adopted, not just by insurtechs like us who are using AI to provide a combination of care and service, but also by the incumbents and insurtechs themselves. When it comes to the claims, it's going back to the same conversation. Is it a transaction or is it a relationship? Is it about moving money or is it about the fact that someone is calling in to reporting a loss of a loved one? And to me, it's pretty clear it's the latter. So you should use AI to take all the mundane out of the way. Never ask questions at the same time. Always pre-fill documents based on what you know. Reduce call time. Skip awkward moments. Let machines do what machines do best, like pre-filling documents and providing customization and basically giving you a personalized experience. And let humans do what humans do best, which is being present, being on the other side of the line, being compassionate, understanding who you are, what you do. And the combination is very powerful. In a way, I'd like to say that we're using AI to make humans more human. We're using AI to supercharge the social worker, the estate administrator, the executor, to help them get back on their feet again.
Yeah, I've been worried about people using AI in this kind of like replacing, where humans perform well, particularly in the claims process. I think about even my own team. Moving job is a very personal experience. It's meant to be one of the most stressful things you can do outside of have children and move home. And all the tools that we like to use are just things that help us engage. So even like simple things like automated note taking. I want to have this conversation. First conversation we have, Ron, obviously need to take some notes, and I wanted to kind of take those notes and then think about what we're going to talk about in the podcast. And now I can just have that conversation with you, knowing that they're going to be there. And so interaction is different and better. But you just want to kind of focus on that core responsibility. And when I think about claim of any level, whether it's P&C or life and health, but life, there's obviously so much more at stake there from a kind of personal connection perspective. The bits that I enjoyed from claims as a claims professional was dealing with my customers, dealing with the problems and trying to solve them as fast as possible. So empowering me to do that is incredibly important to me as well. Like, it made my job, I can see it now, my job would be better. I would enjoy that role more. So yeah, I hope that's the path that we go down.
That's a key point. If you look at a claim representative, which by the way is an awful name in my opinion, it should be like a beneficiary experience manager. Like, nobody wants to manage it, but the claim is a neutral negative. But let's say someone who's joining a financial institution to basically do customer facing roles. They're not expecting to become a social worker by design. They're not expecting to hear widows and widowers crying on the phone, explaining what just happened day in and day out. So if you help them find meaning in their job, if you help them to do more than just push paper and workflows, but actually empower people, not just in general, but like in these very hyper specific moments of truth. If you allow, that is a very cool job. Yeah. Like, that is a very empowering role, to be the person that is helping the crisis persona to find meaning in what happened. And say, we're not going anywhere. We're not leaving you. Your dad was with us for 40 years, and now we're going to help you with everything that comes after. No, but you don't understand. I need to fly the in-laws. We got you.
Yeah.
That's a different conversation. And I think the claim experience, which is where you're coming from, is important. But what we've been doing in the last 2 years is actually shifting and going more upstream as well. So the policyholder, the newly minted policyholder, the prospect, when they're buying insurance and protection from some of our partners, when you're buying, let's say, an IUL policy from Transamerica right now in the US, everywhere, you're getting empathy baked into that policy. You're getting additional layers of peace of mind, just as you would get a towing service on top of your P&C. You're getting empathy on top of your life insurance. So not only, of course, in addition to the financial peace of mind, your kids are going to be getting emotional peace of mind, administrative peace of mind, but also you're getting our estate planning tools, which is something that really completed the picture for us, being able to bring a cohesive end-of-life solution and connect the advisors, the independent, the captive, everyone into the same aligned interest. We want the information to be stored. We want the eventual, inevitable beneficiary experience to be the most empowering one. So sorry for your loss. We're not going anywhere. But also, I got your dad key record here with us.
Yeah.
That is the most empowering claim experience I can think about. And you have to do that with the policyholder as well.
Yeah, because I think you're touching on this point here that this is another piece of data that we that I got from our conversations. I think you mentioned that this orphan claim problem. So that's 70% of life insurance claims in the US are no assigned advisor, no ongoing relationship. How do you proactively deal with that? Is that going upstream? Is that part of the puzzle? Because that's a huge number of policies just sitting around unpaid with no knowledge of probably even their existence, I'd imagine.
Look, of course, it's an average number. It takes into account term life and high face value and low face value.
Sure.
But eventually, it's very simple. Let's say someone is buying whole life insurance. By the time they pass away and their next of kin is calling, it's quite likely that the financial advisor that sat belly to belly in the kitchen table with your dad is no longer around because either he passed away or he's out of business and retired. And of course, if it's a high net worth family, maybe there's the chances of continuity are higher because of the practice, but sometimes not even there. Like people then will collect that folder, say, okay, I got Equitable, I got New York Life, I got Securian, I'm calling in. And 70% of the claims are still over phone. Even today with digital claims on life insurance, very different than PNC. Life insurance is so unique because the policyholder is not the beneficiary. You got two personas where if your house is on fire, God forbid, you're the policyholder and you're the beneficiary. The entire perception was about serving policyholders in PNC, in annuities, and that is important, very important. But what happens when the beneficiary isn't one? Are you seriously just gonna let them move on with no opportunity to understand their possibilities and then look for them on a Super Bowl ad again? Like that just doesn't make any sense to me. They are the best opportunity to show value and they're right there in front of you. In fact, they're calling you, they're chasing you. All you need to do is go above and beyond, be at some level of unreasonable in your care. And these values will drive a lot of value back to your business. And we've seen it. We're so happy to have these case studies on the website with some of the largest, most reputable brands. People go in, empathy.com, they click customers and just see videos of case studies of how executives from Fortune 100 companies are saying, this saves me money. This helps me with generational loyalty, asset retention, OPEX reduction. And I think that's the win-win. How do you help families without increasing the share of wallet that they spend on the life transition? Only if you create a win-win-win with the enterprise.
Yeah, it's a real shift in thinking, and it is a thing of like you kind of wonder why now, but I think we've entered into that conversation already. I mean, it's got this $100 trillion generational wealth transfers underway. I do think it's been interesting to see other kind of end of life care products. I would say, and not in the same way. They're not having this comprehensive change in how that's delivered, which is what empathy's doing. Some people are just offering different products, but there is more awareness about it. Why do you think it's a now problem that's being addressed or looked at? Is it just because of the size and scale of that wealth transfer? Is it tech enablement that means now, or is there something else going in?
I think these are two main components of it. Like the baby boomer generation is extremely unique, not just by the breadth of it, but also by the depth of the savings. This is just a completely different generation in the way they behave and save money. And as a result, we are now at the beginning of what is the largest transaction, largest transfer of wealth in human history. In fact, it already started. So you kind of had to wait for it in order to see it. These very large accounts, outflows of retirement giants, life insurance giants are bigger than ever. And they know what's going to happen to that in the next 10, 15 years. And then actually it's going to stabilize back because, well, the generation after that is, let's say, spending more money and also not as big as a population. So what's really interesting is what's available to keep that AUM. And I think software is a really big change. In the past, maybe even 10 years ago, it was only more brokers and advisors that you would hire in order to keep more relationships. And now you can add value even when you're off the clock. You can add value with estate planning. You can add value with continuity of care. You can add value with grief at 2 a.m. You can add value with probate at 4 p.m. There's a lot you can do. The simplest way to think about it is we already had life events. But it's only recently that life insurance understood life events is an opportunity. And they're connected to it. It's only recently that they said, you know what, that's my job. That's not the bank's job or the employer job necessarily in this case. This is my job. I don't expect the Social Security to do it, and I don't expect necessarily the mortgage company to do it. It's something I should be doing because it's going to be good for all of us.
Yeah, it's a shifting understanding. Well, I knew we'd do this and run over because I thought we would. But we're at time. But I always like to end on just what you're doing next. I know the London office just opened. That was mainly on collaboration with the work with Zurich you're doing. But tell us about the road ahead, and we'll finish on that because there's always exciting things happening with you. What's happening in the next maybe 12 months?
Well, what you can expect to hear more from us, more moments of truth, more moments that matter, other big, infrequent, messy events where we can come in and use technology and service in order to take the mundane out of the way. So we're always announcing new products, and you'll see also us announcing new markets. Of course, we're very active in the US with 40 plus carriers, but also dozens of more in Canada now, and a couple in Europe. So expect more markets and more moments from empathy.
Brilliant. Ron, thank you so much for your time. It's been an absolute pleasure talking to you, and thanks for being a guest on the Leadership and Insurance podcast.
Thank you for having me. Thank you very much.